So in the last two lessons, we looked at 7NS1B. Today we're looking at 7NS1A, which is specific to understanding additive inverse and opposite quantities. So we talked about that a little bit with those zero-sum pairs model. When we had the positive and the negative, we circled them, they were zero. We talked about that in the first lesson when we had -6 and +6. We added them to get 0. So the big thing for us to know is that when you have an additive inverse, the sum is always going to be 0. They're always going to be opposites and they always equal 0. So we have to recall this scenario. So this is what we did in the first lesson. We had a football field where the positives are moving right and the negatives are moving left. So on play, the positives ran the ball 40 yards. Then the negatives intercepted and also ran the ball 40 yards. So it wants us to draw this on the football field. So we're going to start at 0. The positives went 40 yards, which means they went 40 yards to the right. From this point, the negatives intercepted and ran 40 yards. The negatives move left, so we can count 10, 20, 30, 40. What sum does the play above represent? What do you notice? So we had 40 for the positives, and then we had 40 for the negatives. When you added it together, we equaled 0. We noticed that opposites add to 0. We can go to the next slide. Keandra got a birthday card from her aunt with $60 in it. Keandra went to the mall and bought a new backpack for $60. Write an addition sentence that represents the above situation. So when she got the $60, that was positive and money into her bank account. So she got $60. We're always going to be writing adding, but now she bought a new backpack. So now that new backpack cost her $60. That's going to be -$60 in her bank account. And if you think about what happens when you get money and then you spend the same amount, you do end up with 0. So how much money does Keandra have now? She has $0. Now we have Miss Eastman. She started a GoFundMe for new laptops for her students. She raised $1,340 to get new laptops. She went to Best Buy and spent $1,340. How much money does Miss Eastman have now? How do you know? So if we were to write this out, when she got the money, that was positive in the bank account. That was positive $1,340. When she spent the money, that's coming out of her bank account, that's going to be negative $1,340. How much money does she have now? She has $0. So how do we know? We can say she has $0 now. You can say positive 1,340 and negative 1,340 are additive inverses, so they add to 0. Now here's something to think about. So this is going to do with the additive inverse, kind of just like this Miss Eastman question here. If Miss Eastman started with more money, so say she started with $500, then she got the 1,340, spent the 1,340. At the end of the day, she has that original $500 in her account, right? She started with 500, she got the 1,340, then she spent the 1,340. She still has that 500. Now I have a candy jar with 15 Snickers bars in it. So I already got 15 Snickers in a jar, starting at the start of the day, 15 Snickers. I added 6 new Snicker bars into the jar. I bought some more. I need to put them into my candy jar. Mr. Jordan snuck into my classroom. He ate 6 of the Snickers bars. So from the start of the day to the end of the day, we say, what is the net change in candy bars? So how much did it change from the start of the day to the end of the day? The start of the day, we started with 15. How many did I end up with at the end of the day? If we write this out, I started with 15. I added 6. When Mr. Jordan ate 6 of them, that was like adding a -6. We know that 6 and -6 are 0. These are the additive inverses. We've done 6 and -6 before. So now that's just saying 15 plus 0. So at the end of the day, I had 15 at the end of the day. I had 15 at the start of the day. The net change, how much it changed from the start to the end, is 0. started with 15 Snicker bars. I ended with 15 Snicker bars. So now this one, you can write your own additive inverse. So you can write a math problem. You can write a story where it has additive inverse, like the one with Keandra and getting the $60 and spending the $60. You can just write a math sentence, whatever you want to do for this one that shows that you're understanding what additive inverse is. This next slide is telling us to go into Canvas and do independent practice 6, adding rational numbers. It should be a quick quiz. And then slide 8 is just a glossary again, so we can look at all of these different vocabulary terms when we need them. So if we don't know what to do, or we see a vocabulary word and we're not sure what it is within a Desmos lesson, we should always look at that last slide and see what the glossary says.